And hello guys, and welcome back to another of our class about Excel, the complete introduction to data analysis with Excel. So in today's class, we are still going to work with our stocks data. So our goal today is really to do the data extraction, answer the questions to the goals that we set it ourselves in our first class. Well, in our last class, sorry. All right, so the first question we want to answer will be the highest price ever. So our goal will be to find the highest price ever on this database. So how will we do this? It's very simple. When you have a stock price, the first thing you will look at, you have the price. So this is the closing price. You have the open price. So at the beginning of the day, that's the opening price. This is the closing price. So at the end of the day, this is the value of the stock. That's the highest price of the day. That's the lowest price of the day. The change is simply the movement that the price had in the day. So for example, the price opened at 2,817 and closed at 2,736. So the price of the stock dropped by 2.5%. So it's really a comparison of the open price and the closing price at the end. All right, so our goal, as I said, is really to find out the highest price. So we will look at the highest prices of every day. So as you can see here, those are all the highest prices that the stock ever reached in each day. So how do we find it? Very simple. Simply go here and we'll write down max. So we look for the highest value on our highest prices. So this is the highest price ever. As you can see, it's $3,397. We'll do the exact same thing for the lowest price ever, since we are also looking for this. So the way we'll calculate it is exactly the same thing, but in this case, we'll use another formula, which is the min. So very simple, we'll simply select all the lowest prices and click on enter. So as you can see right now, we have our highest price, which is $3,397, and our lowest price, which is $2,174. So all those prices are in dollars. Simply put on a dollar sign. All right, next question we'll ask ourselves is what is the standard deviation? As I explained in our last class, why we'll use the standard deviation and why we'll need it. So there are many ways we can calculate the standard deviation. We can calculate the standard deviation of all the prices, of just the price, the open, or any of those. But our main goal here is really to calculate the standard deviation that will represent the movement of the price on a daily basis. So the way I personally calculate it, I calculate it on the open price, so the beginning price of every day. So I calculate the standard deviation of only the beginning price, and we'll use it as a reference for our next course. Well, our next class, sorry. All right, so how do we calculate the standard deviation? There is a formula that can calculate it in Excel. You simply write down standdev p, it's the one here. As you can see, it will be standdev.p, and you open up the parentheses, then simply select all the prices in our open price. And when it's done, simply click on enter. So you should have a number that looks like this. All depends of what was the dates of the data that you selected. But normally you should have a standard deviation of around $207. All right, next question we'll ask ourselves is what's the highest price movement? So this time we'll use the change. So we'll talk about the change. So what was the highest price movement ever? How do we calculate it? Is very simple. The first thing we have to do is calculate the absolute value of this value. Why we'll calculate the absolute value? It's simply because if we don't calculate it, we'll use the ABS formula. If we don't calculate it, we'll have only the highest movement. So for example, 1%, is higher than minus 10%, but our goal is to calculate the biggest movement. So it can be, for example, minus 10% will be a bigger movement than plus 1%. So the formula to calculate the absolute value is simply ABS. You open up the parentheses and you select the cell. So it will load and will automatically generate another tab like this. Next thing you guys want to do is simply put it in percentage. And then what we'll do is simply find out the highest value of all those values. So simply click equal max. And then we'll do the exact same thing. Simply calculate the max of all this. So the highest price movement was 10%. So one day the stock price of the SPY 500 moved up or down by 10%. So this was the highest price movement. So the next thing we want to ask ourselves, what's the lowest price movement? And we will do the exact same thing here. So we'll simply use the formula min. So we have our max. Right now it's time to calculate our min. So our min is, in this case, 0%. So as you can see, the highest price movement was around 10% in the past year, and the lowest was around 0%. So the price didn't even move. All right, so right now we know those things. The next thing we want to calculate is the daily volatility and the average daily volatility. What this means, it means the difference between the highest price and the lowest price. So in this case, we'll know approximately how much the price of the stock, well, of this, in this case, it's an ETF, of this ETF moved. We'll calculate the value in dollars, and we can also calculate it in percentage. So how do we calculate this? It's very simple. Simply click on equal, and you do the highest price minus the lowest price. So as you can see, for this day, the movement was around $115, which is not that bad. The next thing we want to calculate is we want to know how much in percentage this is, and we'll compare our answer with the open price. So here we'll write down and the next thing we're looking for is the daily volatility in percentage. So how do we calculate this? It's very simple. We have our volatility in dollars. So it moved $115. We'll simply divide this by the open price, because once again, I personally use the open price as a reference. And here we go. Don't forget, at the end, we have to put everything in percentage. So as you can see, the daily volatility in the majority of, well, in almost every times is higher than the movement between the open price and the highest price, or simply, well, is higher than the change. So the movement of between the open price and the close price, and which is normal because the daily volatility is once again all the movement of the price. So as you can see here, in some cases the price moved almost 12%, so it maybe went up or down by 12%, which is very, very big because that's an ETF and it represents the economy of the US. All right, so the next question we wanted to answer was, what's the average daily volatility in percentage? So it's very simple. We simply click, we'll write it down first. So daily and we'll calculate it. So how do we calculate this? we will simply use the average and calculate the average of all our values. And as you can see, the average daily volatility is around 1.76%, which is an interesting price movement on a daily basis. So if we want to trade this type of ETF on a daily basis, it could be very interesting since it has a movement of 1.76%. So we have an idea of how much we can risk versus how much we can use as a reward of risk. Once again, that's just some basic data analysis. It's not advanced at all. It's just to extract some basic data. And that's what we did. So that's it for this course, guys, and see you all in our next class where we are gonna create our simulation model. You'll see it's not something very complicated, but you will be able to predict the price range for the next period.